To infinity and beyond.
I'm sorry, the orchestra that just played is not right for the show because we should
Totally
be like,
isn't.
we got to be like we should be like raving out right now, man. I mean, come on.
Totally should be. We have a new intro that is in the works right now. Just wasn't quite ready yet, but it is coming. So expect a new opening to fit, of course, Batman Beyond, folks. Scott is ready.
I was telling Dave, I bought this shirt, I don't know how many months ago. It's been literally sitting in my closet waiting for tonight. I was christening the shirt for when we got to talk about Rebirth Part 1. So, yes.
And here we are. That's right, guys. We are diving into Batman Beyond. Yes, we are, King 5942. We are doing that now. So we are going in order. So if you're wondering, yes. We'll be doing Justice League the Animated. Yes, we will get there. We will get there.
When are we doing it? When we get to it.
Yes, we're going in order. We're going in order. Thank you, Eric, for, of course, mentioning to them. But yeah, Braden, Batman Beyond, favorite Batman stories. Yeah, it's a really, they did a good job. Yeah, doing the Timverse in production order. So we appreciate you guys. But yes, we are finally here. We wrapped up Batman the Animated Series last week, and pretty surreal.
108 episodes, 2 movies, and a lost episode.
And yeah, and of course we're going to be jumping to other things in the DCAU. I mean, Scott's the one that knows the whole thing. He said,
the future.
He knows the future. He definitely knows the future. But I've been looking forward to Batman Beyond because I mentioned it last week, I think, or when we were talking about it. It's like when it came to Batman Beyond. I mean, when did the series debut?
Debuted in 1999. So it was I'm gonna say. So in 1999, if it debuted in the fall of 99, that would have been, I know for me, maybe also for you, that would have been senior year of high school. I was still a senior in high school. I graduated in May of 2000. So I'm talking. So the first season is our senior year of high school.
Okay, you graduated in 2000. I graduated in 2002. That's what's crazy.
But because we're not
really exactly close to the same age.
We're not exactly the same age.
Yeah. Because I was like, wait, because I remember you mentioned that you were like watching this stuff in college, and I was like, I don't remember like being outside of high school when this stuff debuted, when Batman Beyond debuted.
Yeah, let me give you the exact date here, just so that we can all. Yeah, so the series began. I will take that back. Technically, the series began while I was still a junior, because the first episode aired January 10th, 1999.
There you go. Okay. So that makes a little bit more sense, because I was like, I don't remember it being that much. But I will say that, like I said last week, when it came to Batman the Animated Series, when it came to Superman the Animated Series, I watched those, a lot of repeats, a lot of everything. When it came to Batman Beyond, wasn't a lot of repeat watching when it came to that. And so I think there's going to be a lot of episodes where I'm just going to be like revisiting, almost like, pretty almost fresh.
And see, for me, I adored this show.
Yeah, no, I didn't. I had nothing. But again, when you're younger and, you're not a teenager that's just wanting to, hey, I want to get out of my house. I want to do something, I just like, I remember me and my, I forgot which friend was it, but I remember he was totally obsessed with it. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. Batman in the future. I remember having that conversation. I remember when the first little TV spot, it kind of was like, what? They're doing this?
Yeah. Okay. So this is the perfect segue into kind of the origins of Batman Beyond.
Talk about it.
Yeah, because what you just described was the zeitgeist at the time. There was a lot of critical thought. I mean, I know it's going to shock you, but even in the 90s, people prejudged something before they saw it.
There was
And
just no social media. God damn.
I know, right? There wasn't even Facebook yet, and yet we were still prejudging things before we saw them. But what had happened was Warner Brothers Animation pretty much put the axe on Batman the Animated Series. Like, so when we got to what we just watched, they were like, okay, no, we want something more kid friendly. And the story that's told, because this series is credited to being created by Bruce Timm, Alan Burnett, and Paul Dini. All three of them were there, from the ground up. And the story they tell is that they were like, what are we gonna do? And whether it's apocryphal or not, the story is that basically on the elevator up to like the boss's office, they came up with an idea of,
Yes.
let's do Batman in the future and let's make Batman younger. Because once again, the mandate from the studio was make a more kid-friendly Batman series. The irony being the show ended up being darker than Batman the Animated Series.
That's what's so funny about it. It's like, okay, yeah, it's like, okay, kid friendly and whatever. I mean, yeah, it's more stylized and everything, but I'm just kind of going like, no, I don't remember. Yeah, like when you're saying that, I'm like, no, they didn't quite do that. But at the same time, it's still they were like, hey, the younger part they nailed, younger future, whatever. So it worked out, I guess.
Well, that's it. It became a hit once it started airing. The fans loved it.
Yeah.
Like it has definitely become the words that you see on a lot of internet articles. It became a cult classic. Like, people adored the show because it did something different. It's very stylized, as you mentioned, very cyberpunk. It has a lot of those cyberpunk trappings that we can talk about as well as a series. And if you're not familiar with cyberpunk, then that was that genre of science fiction that really kind of took root during the 80s. Think of Blade Runner, Neuromancer, Johnny Mnemonic, ultra corporations, the future is dystopian. It's that kind of thing, and Batman Beyond totally nailed that. So it's just hilarious that they had to come up with the idea of, well, let's make a kid Batman, which that's what the fans reacted negatively to. They're like, no, just give me more of Batman the Animated Series. And then we got Batman Beyond, and we were like, what?
Dude.
This
What was always embedded in my brain when they made that first that TV spot was because they have to establish like, oh yeah, we got an older Batman, and then I just always remembered when Bruce takes off the cowl and he's bleeding and you see the gray, and it's just like, it was always just like that just stuck out. I was like, whoa, wait a minute, what? It was just one of those like, huh, kind of things. Like, wait, first off, the costume, what the hell? No cape? What are we doing? A red bat?
Which ended up being a really awesome logo.
Exactly. It was one of those. I just remember being thrown back, and like my friends also were like, what the fuck? What? It was just one of those things that just, yeah, that's why, again, like you said, probably wasn't, at first there was critical, like, wasn't well received. Like, what are we doing here? This is not the normal Batman that we want here. And that's why it's like, yeah. And the fact that it became this cult classic to the point, like now we are yearning for either a live action or some kind of fucking animated something to come out. We're just yearning for it because it ended up being just such a good continuation from Batman the Animated Series to the point where there's books. And I remember when it's kind of funny because when the DC Rebirth books came out, which is kind of funny because this episode's titled Rebirth.
Rebirth, yeah.
Yeah, and I remember just like, oh yeah, I'm definitely jumping on, the Batman Beyond, and of course, I just remember that cover. That cover is so cool, where he's like this or something like that. Just the way it was designed, it just looks really cool.
Absolutely.
And it, retells the story, but it's still, relatively,
But the point is, though, is that once again, something became so freaking popular that they made Terry continuity.
Yeah,
like they put him into the books. Now, granted, that didn't happen. This was like a New 52 era kind of thing. Like, Terry had his own books, but it took a while. But then they finally made him like canon, and it was so awesome to be like, yeah, Batman Beyond is now like officially a thing. Even so much that when Sean Murphy was doing his White Knight spinoff, like Elseworlds thing, he eventually got to the point where he brought in Terry, and it's called, Beyond the White Knight. Like, he did Batman Beyond in his White Knight universe. Like, it's
so cool.
It's so cool. And it's amazing that it all started from Suits saying, we want a younger, hipper Batman to make it more kid friendly. And then, of course, Bruce Timm, Alan Burnett, and Paul Dini do what they do, which is sure, and then make it as dark as possible.
That's so good. That's what's yeah. And then revisiting this episode, man. I mean, obviously, when it first starts off, and
the cold open, yes,
the cold open, because it doesn't just start off like, hey, here's like the intro. No, it's a cold open, and obviously we know that there's the character Derek Powers.
Yes, trying to buy out Wayne Enterprises.
Yeah, I know we're going to be talking about voices.
Dude,
plenty of voices in here.
There's so many voices.
Some I recognize, some I some I know, but some I'm like, who the fuck, like I don't remember there. So that's going to be a fun part when we start talking about voices. But yeah, we got Derek Powers, who of course wants to just buy out Wayne Enterprises. So we get our first glimpse of an older Bruce Wayne. Not quite as old as we get to, of course. And then of course there's like a kidnapping of this girl. I forgot what her name was.
No, it's Bunny Vreeland.
That's right. I was like,
Veronica's daughter.
Veronica's daughter. That's right. That's right. So already you got that continuity, like right there.
Now, just for reference, because we don't know yet, but for our reference, this cold open is set 30 years after the animated series.
30 years, God. So
because remember, the series ends up being 50 years.
Yes, because we get a 20-year jump after.
We get a 20-year jump. So that establishes that what we're watching right now is 30 years. So this is putting Bruce probably in his, ballpark how old you want to say Bruce Wayne is in the animated series. I'm going to say early 30s.
Like early 30s, like 33, 4.
Right. So this is putting him in his 60s.
60s. So just around like Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah. Technically even older than he was in The Dark Knight, because he was only supposed to be like mid-50s in The Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah, true that.
Yeah.
So, but so we got him right there. And then, so she's of course tied up in this warehouse, and then of course Batman shows up. And I mean, it's a great opening. It's just such a great opening. The reveal and everything coming out of the shadow after, and they're just knocking out that guy. And then we see the new suit. We see everything. We see him launch up. I mean, it's obviously, again, you have a short amount of time. You can't make it too dramatic, too long. It's like, hey, here he is, there he is. This is the Batman you remember, but it's a totally different costume. It's no cape. I can only imagine, like, again, like the diehards, the purists as we call it, just going, fuck this, like right off the bat.
But you know what? I love the wings.
Oh, I
I
do
have.
too.
Oh, the wings are so. There's such an.
Everything about this is like it just works. It
Oh yeah,
works.
it really
It
does.
takes me a little bit,
Now, the funny thing is that, he attacks this one kidnapper. The one kidnapper has lines. I'm gonna start with the voices now. This is
Okay.
fun. You wanna know who the kidnapper is?
I have no idea.
Right, no one would know, but we're talking deep cut here.
Oh shit.
The voice of the kidnapper is Reno Romano.
Romano.
Uh-huh.
Okay, who's that?
He's Bruce Wayne Batman in The Batman.
Oh no shit! Who voices in the anime? Oh no
The
shit!
Yeah, so the voice of the kidnapper
That's
is the one
funny.
who ends up becoming, Batman to the next iteration of animated Batman.
Oh, that's funny. Wow. Yeah, I would
Yeah.
have never guessed that one.
Oh, no, I
Yeah.
didn't either. That's just
Yeah.
one of those that, like, as I was watching the credits, I would just went, "Oh, that's cool."
That is pretty cool. Wow. So you show up in Batman Beyond, then end up being the voice of Batman and a new version of it. That's pretty sweet. Nice. Was there anybody else in that scene?
Not in that scene.
Okay.
No,
In
no.
that scene. Okay. But yeah, so we get, of course, Batman just, obviously knocks that guy out and everything. And then he shows up in the warehouse and just starts, doing his thing, taking out guys. But then
Heart attack,
yeah, starts grabbing at his chest, and then you just kind of go like, oh fuck, there it is. Like, oh
But I
yeah,
love that too because
yeah,
without explaining it, it explains why he needs the new suit.
yes,
Because he's not
it's
a
just
s
good
my
writing.
it's good. I mean, he's in his 60s,
Yes,
so he needs a little help. But then that kidnapper starts beating the crap
the
out of
big
him
ass wrench.
with a big
Yeah,
ass wrench, giving me total death in the family vibes. Because I'm thinking about Joker beating Jason Todd with a crowbar
of
as I'm
course.
watching this guy. Because he's also got the giant wrench like Luthor in The Rocketeer.
Yeah, yeah. No, but I mean, like, yeah, he just starts getting the crap beat out of him. And yeah, he just can't do anything because he just keeps his heart is just not letting him do it. And I love how the guy was like, yeah, I remember, he says something about, I remember like you used to like be a
They
threat
used
to
to
like
tell
guys.
stories about
Yes,
you.
yes,
Yeah.
and we're threat like guys like me and blah blah blah. And then we get a really cool dramatic, and that's why I wanted to use it as a thumbnail.
Oh my god, that's the moment where you go, "Oh shit."
Yeah, he grabs a gun that he knocked out of one of their hands, and he just points it at him,
Because he's got
and you're just
nothing
going,
left. I mean,
"Yes,
and what gets me when he points the gun, the guy totally shits his pants. Like that Batman drawing a gun on the guy scares him more than Batman just showing up.
dude,
It's that whiplash of, oh fuck, he's got he pulled a gun. It's got to be that thing like no one's ever told this story. Like this is not a story that's ever been told. Like he craps his pants and runs
exactly."
away, and it's
Because what you
amazing.
just like what we just said, like he said, "Oh yeah, I've heard stories." So he probably heard the stories. So yeah, Batman never uses a gun,
He doesn't
and
kill,
he doesn't kill and stuff like that. So when that happens, he's like, "Oh shit, this guy, this is not the same this is not the Batman I heard about." And yeah, he runs off and he runs outside, and of course the cops show up and everything. And yeah, and I mean, and then I love it like how Batman just gets out of the warehouse, and then yeah, he just basically, he takes off the cowl, and you see him like just bloodied, and then he looks at the gun and he's just like, what the fuck? Like he just knows I can't do
That broke. I mean, he is
it. Broke.
broken.
He's
Yeah, that
broken.
he's broken. That moment just went no. I can't. Which what I love because this episode, the story was by Alan Burnett, the screenplay was by Alan Burnett and Paul Dini, and there's always which you're gonna tell a last Batman story, or if you're going to tell a Batman at the end of his career story,
Yeah,
there's got to always be why did he quit?
exactly.
What caused him to quit? In Dark Knight Returns, it's funny. Frank Miller basically predicted the death of Jason Todd before they actually killed Jason Todd in the comics.
Yeah.
So it's kind of suggested that the death of Jason is what, made him quit in Dark Knight Returns. So I love the idea of what would make this Batman, this iteration of Batman, stop being Batman. And it would be the fact that he is, in his desperation, the only thing that could save him was pulling a gun on a guy. And I think he's ashamed of himself.
Oh yeah.
That he would like that was even a viable possibility. Because another thing, and this is just a guy, as someone who has fired guns, who owns a gun, and knows gun safety, there's always that one thing, and you'll see it in almost any kind of movie where they like try to teach someone how to use a gun like in 30 seconds or something. It's you never put your finger on the trigger unless you're ready to unless you're planning on shooting someone, you don't put your finger on the trigger. You put it on the side. You always you keep it. Watch the animation. He's got his finger around that trigger.
Oh yeah, he's about ready to fire because he has no choice. He has no choice. And thank you, Ted, for becoming a new member right there, Mr. Fitzpatrick. Appreciate that. But yeah, so and then we get back to the Batcave, and man, a lot of little Easter eggs in there.
There's a lot of, but that's the thing. You got the idea that it's been 30 years, because look at all the additional trophies that he has. He didn't have the T-Rex in the original series.
Yeah.
Now he's got Scarface.
Yeah,
he's got Harley Quinn's, get up. He's got all these. The trophy room has grown beyond, the giant penny. That's really all we got trophy-wise in the OG series was the giant penny.
But it was just cool to see like the panning over, and then of course you see the Bat costume, the Nightwing costume, the Robin costume, the Batgirl costume, and then of course the new Batman,
the Beyond suit,
suit, and then he's just like, he locks it up and he's just looking at all of it, and then he just walks up the stairs to the switches, and he just goes, "Never again." And then we get that cool little shot of as he's shutting off the lights, it pans through just one more time back through just to see everything. And
as the lights are going,
so fucking dramatic.
And then we launch into a brand new opening title sequence.
Should we watch it?
We should watch it.
Let's watch it.
Because I also have stories. I have stories, but first let's watch this damn thing. I'm ready to. Okay, hold on. Let me get my rave stick, because we're gonna do some head banging here. I mean, come on.
Yeah, we'll start it right here. Why not? All right. Yeah, we got to watch that part, because why not? It's a whole new. It's so good. So good. Yeah, there's him walking up the steps.
Never again.
Never again. There's Scarface Joker with the coin and the
suit. Oh yeah.
And then here we go.
Neo Gotham. There's a giant shot of Neo Gotham. And I love it how there's references to things that we don't even know yet.
I don't know what the hell this is gonna be about. Like, what the fuck?
Right. But there's clues and there's hints as to all the people we're gonna see in the show that we haven't met yet. It's cool though, in the international version where that said Beyond, internationally that said of the future.
Yeah.
So this was called Batman of the Future in international markets. Yeah, going clubbing. Yeah, because there's references to Spellbinder, Ink. There's all kinds of references to all the new villains we've not met yet. Blight.
Ooh. Rebirth.
Part 1 in this case.
Yes.
Because if I remember correctly, when this aired, Part 1 and Part 2 aired back to back. Yeah. Because it was a Saturday morning premiere.
Yeah, I think I remember that too.
Okay, so here's the nuggets about this opening title sequence. So I told you last week, for anyone who doesn't already know, but once again, if you're watching the show, don't you already know? Darwin Cook designed and personally animated that entire opening title sequence.
So good.
Okay, so here's the notes I found doing my research. In contrast, and I'm quoting at this point. In contrast to most cartoon openings, which adapt music to a finalized group of shots, Batman Beyond's visuals were specifically cut to suit the music. So they had the theme already. Darwin Cook cut it to the theme that Christopher Carter had already composed.
Perfect.
Now, Cook used his personal Mac with Adobe After Effects
No
to
shit.
do that.
Are you kidding me?
No,
Back then?
he
Wow.
did it in his spare bed. He didn't do it in the studio. He used no Warner Brothers resources. He had a Mac in his spare bedroom with Adobe After Effects, and he created that opening title sequence.
Back then. I mean,
In
mind you,
1999.
mind you guys, like, yeah, 1999. And I've used Adobe After Effects, and I've used it, and it's not easy to do. It's not an easy thing to do. And I can't even imagine back then. I mean, obviously, like, you know, Apple computers are they're always a little bit ahead of the game when it came to video editing and VFX editing and whatever the hell. But man, that is fucking awesome. That is so cool.
I mean, you got to remember, Darwin Cook was not a name.
No,
he had storyboarded like 4 episodes of Batman the Animated Series and the New Batman Adventures. And he had just, around this time, had just gotten the go-ahead to do Ego. Like, this is all happening like at the same time. So Darwin Cook is not a name yet. He is in his infancy as far as the career that we would come to expect from him.
That's so cool. Wow. That's a good little freaking tidbit right there, man. Because I remember
what I do. It's what I do.
It's what you bring. It's what you bring. But yes, then we fast forward 20
more years.
Yes.
So once again, for those of you keeping score, we are now 50 years in the future from OG Batman the Animated Series.
So we're talking about now. Bruce is like 80 something years old.
Yeah, we're talking he's pushing high, mid high 80s right now. Yeah.
And then we get to, obviously we see this futuristic cyberpunky Gotham City, and you got flying things.
Officially it is referred to as Neo Gotham.
And then of course, it's funny kind of watching it now, especially like the subway they get on. Kind of reminded me a little Minority Report-esque a little bit. I don't know. There's like just like because of like it's like it's a train, but it's like running on. It's not on like a normal track and everything. So
yeah, it's a monorail. So
monorail kind of thing.
It's a monorail thing. But you also have the cyber, like the newscasters on the TV aren't even real people.
Yeah, that kind of makes you a little like, who is that? Where we're headed? All this AI talk.
I know, right? It does feel like you've got AI newscasters.
Yeah, not even real ones.
Not even real ones.
Talking about Derek Powers again. Jay.
Yes.
Now
we've talked about him before. The voice is Sherman Howard, who was for DC fans. He was Lex Luthor in the final 3 seasons of the Superboy TV show.
Yeah.
Because there was a different actor who played Lex Luthor in season 1, and then they, surgery or something made him younger, so they changed actors for the final 3 seasons of the show. But he is one of those journeymen where it's like, name a TV show, he's was on it.
Yeah,
he probably was on it, and he did Seinfeld. He did all the things. And then he became just this prolific voice actor and did all the things. So, but becoming Derek Powers is one of his, like, as far as our sort of animation world is a major part. But he did Star Trek. He did things. So yeah. So that's who Derek Powers is. And
then of course we get to introduce to Terry, And
And you know who Terry is.
you know who Terry is. And that's the thing. It's like, hey, I mean, I was a big Boy Meets World fan, so obviously when you find out that it's Will, how do you say his last name? Friedel?
Friedel,
Friedel?
yes.
Friedel, yeah. Which of course he played Eric Matthews on Boy Meets World. And yeah, it was just I remember I don't remember when I found that out, but I was like, oh, wait a minute. Oh my God, Eric Matthews is doing the voice. He ended up having a pretty good career voice acting.
He still
Yeah.
has an amazing voice career. I mean, he was Lion-O in the reboot of Thundercats, and this made him like a voice actor. Like
What's funny about that, and I remember I don't know, I think I came across a video or something like that. It's funny because because he was a good looking dude,
he was, still is,
he was a good looking dude, but I think like all of that, and let's face it, even though it might seem happy go lucky when it comes to being on these sitcoms, shit goes down and shit. There are people that I don't know. I all I know is look into it. It wasn't all happy go lucky when it came to Boy Meets World, and things happened. And of course, he was a stud and everything. But then I think that kind of, when it came to actually doing acting and being out there, I think like when he got into voice acting, he just probably realized, you know what, this is probably a better way. And it worked for him because
it is
again,
working.
prolific.
He's still working. He is
Yeah.
still working.
Yeah. But it's just kind of interesting that, you didn't really see him. I mean, I think he was in some movie with Jennifer Love Hewitt because they were dating at one point. There was some National Lampoon movie that they were in or something. Something was, but it just, then he just like, after like he got this gig, I think just experiences and being like the heartthrob, it just didn't ever sit with him. And I'm like, respect, dude. Like you went through some shit that he's talked about on the Boy Meets World podcast and stuff like that. Look it up. It wasn't all fun and games. There was shit that went down behind the scenes, and I think it just left a bad taste in his mouth. And I think like he found his true calling of just like, hey, I'm just gonna stick with this voice acting gig, and it's worked out for him.
And then also, and this is complete speculation on my point. I have no research.
Yeah.
But you've got to imagine you get this gig, and you're basically learning at the feet of the master when it comes to Kevin Conroy. I mean, Kevin Conroy being a Juilliard actor who had a rough go, and then lands Batman, and then is set literally until the day he died. With this, and so I think Will probably I have to imagine there was some great mentor-mentee going on there, and Kevin had to give him some like this is a sweet like voice act. This is a sweet gig. Like,
I mean, Jesus,
you can always get work.
You can always get work. I mean, yeah. I mean, I shit. I mean, it's something to get in. It was something to get into for sure. But yeah, so obviously that's who's playing him, and then of course we get this one of the a gang member from the Jokers, I guess you could say.
No, Jokers, Jokerz.
Yeah,
is what which was an intentional choice because they never wanted. They wanted to make sure throughout this series, as Terry becomes Batman. Spoiler alert: Terry becomes Batman, folks. What? That he gets his own rogues. They did not want to just recycle Batman's rogues gallery. What they would do, however, is they would do fun twists on the archetypes of the villains. And I'll talk about those when we get to those villains. Like, if you get it, you can see how, this villain is his version of so-and-so.
Yeah, you could totally see that.
But they always felt like Joker was their, part of the pun, ace in the sleeve, where they never wanted to, like, when they were going to bring Joker back, like, they knew shit's about to go down. Like, this has to be a big deal for us to to do something with Joker. So they thought this would be 50 years removed, would be, kids, gangs would venerate him. They would idolize him. They would want to mimic him. And so the Jokers was their way of keeping Joker around in Gotham City without keeping Joker around in Gotham City. And so that's how you get the Jokers with a Z to be this persistent gang in Neo Gotham.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I mean, they were very smart about like how the details that they mapped out when it came to this this future universe. But naturally, then we get an idea of like, oh wait, yeah, Terry can he knows how to handle himself. You could tell he's like he can handle himself. So he definitely does, like, he handles the guy as the best that he can. It wasn't like anything like too crazy. But then of course we get to see, well, yeah, Terry he's a wrestler for his school.
Yeah.
So he knows how to at least do that. I mean, when it comes to actually hand-to-hand combat, at least he knows how to, grapple on the ground.
Right. Because before then we meet Chelsea. We
Chelsea.
meet Dana,
Which is
Terry's,
his girlfriend.
which is his girlfriend, yes.
Yeah.
And then we meet the school bully. I kind of refer to him, and I think even the creators like kind of like the Flash Thompson.
Yeah,
Batman
he's very
Beyond.
Flash Thompson.
Very Flash Thompson. We get Nelson,
Yeah.
who, by the way, is a voice.
Who's that?
Did you not recognize it?
I didn't really. No.
It's Seth Green.
Of course, I knew. I was like, it's gonna be somebody. I'm like gonna be like, yep. Yeah, that makes sense. No, I'm like, yeah.
Someone else who discovered how voice acting is a really great career to be
Yeah,
in.
no, he's done a great job. I mean, Jesus had that Family Guy gig for over 10 years. Yeah, it's like he just got to go in and just, goddamn it. Again, such a great gig to have. But I did not think that was Seth Green.
Yeah, that's Seth Green.
I remember hearing that he was somewhere in this. I just wasn't quite sure where he was. But that's cool. I actually I said what's up to him at the Godzilla -1 premiere when I went to it.
I remember you telling this story.
Yeah, all of a sudden we just looked at each other and I just went, "What's up?" And he was like, "Hey," and that was it. Yeah, short dude. I mean, I felt tall. I'm not a tall guy.
You were not a tall guy.
When I looked at him, I was like, man. I mean, obviously, it's very obvious that he's not a tall dude, but I was like, oh yeah, you are pretty short. I was like, cool. But nice dude. He said, "What's up?" We just looked at each other. It was just a random thing. I just turned around. I was like, "Oh, what's up?" So yeah, Seth Green, great dude. Anyway, so yeah, Seth Green. Anybody else in that group that you just mentioned?
Not in that. I mean, Lauren Tom. I think we've talked about her before. Dana, I want to double check on this one because I mean, Lauren Tom is a name that I am aware of, and I knew that she was Dana. Oh yeah, I remember we've talked about her because she was in like Joy Luck Club and a lot of things, but I feel like vocally we've talked about her before. Give me a hot second because she did a lot of she was Amy Wong in Futurama.
Okay. Yes.
Yep. I thought so. Okay. I just wanted to confirm because for Superman the Animated Series, she's Angela Chen.
Okay. Yeah. There you go. Okay. Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute. Isn't she the voice of Angela? And I just had to go back and confirm. But yes, she was. Yeah, we've already been seeing her all this time as Angela on Superman the Animated Series. Now she becomes Dana for Batman Beyond.
That's cool. So okay, so we got her, we got them, and then and then of course Nelson is of course the piece of shit, spits in Terry's face, and Terry gets upset, punches him. Yeah, which he should, and then of course nobody else sees it, and he gets in trouble. So naturally, that's what's gonna happen.
Also suggests that Terry's got an anger issue. And he does, and I mean, yeah, Nelson had it coming, but you could tell that he's got anger management issues, so he's not exactly like this squeaky clean kid. Like you get that, and you also get it from the monorail scene where he's willing to, give that Joker, some crap. So he's doing the right thing by protecting that one lady on the subway from the Joker. So he's willing to jump in, but he's not going about it in maybe the best way. And
he's running on pure anger, like temper.
Yeah.
So, which is one of the things that his father ends up.
Oh, by the way, I always laugh at this. And where do they go to school?
Oh, shit. I'm totally just blanking. Where?
Hamilton Hill High School.
Hamilton Hill. Explain that.
The mayor.
The mayor. Duh. There it is. Yes. Jeez.
I just slapped you around a few
times. I know,
times.
you should slap me around for that. I was like, wait, who is that? I was totally was like, what? I don't even remember exactly. But yeah, there you go. So they named a high school after the mayor. Oh, that we saw a handful of times in Batman the Animated Series.
It was a piece of shit, but that usually is how it works out, right?
Yeah, exactly. So so then of course we meet Terry's dad, Warren McGinnis, who we don't see him too much, but
this is a Batman story.
This is a Batman story. It was you got to realize he's got both his parents. Well,
that's not going to last long.
It's not going to last too long. You got to have something, but he's he works for where does he work for? He works for
Wayne Powers.
He does work for Wayne Powers, yeah.
Right, because at this point, as we established in the news coverage on the monorail,
that's right.
The merger or the takeover that because sometimes mergers are really takeovers. I have a business degree. I spent entire mini semesters studying this mergers and acquisitions. Yeah. But yes.
Nice pull.
This is one of those mergers that was probably more like an acquisition, because you get the sense that probably after, this is how I interpret it, and maybe the story actually gets explained later on in the series, but I'm just going by what the writers give me here. That after Bruce stops being Batman, he also just kind of stopped giving a shit about anything. So that opened up his company to get acquired by Powers Technology, which creates this Wayne Powers Enterprises. And
good name. It's a good name.
It is a good name, except for when you've got dirtbag like Derek Powers, in charge of the company.
Yeah, he sucks.
Yeah, he sucks. So no, Warren works for Wayne Powers, and of course he gets contacted by this buddy of his, Harry, and I love it when we see him, because another thing that's cool about it, can be cool. It can be done really badly, or it can be done really well. But in cyberpunk or just sci-fi in general, I like the invention of slang.
Yeah.
Especially slang that they don't explain it. They just use it. And contextually, you've got to figure out what it means. And frankly, it makes more sense than some of this Gen Z brain rot that I got to listen to these days. I have kids that are Gen Alpha, and I am fully aware of the brain rot slang that makes. I am so tired of Riz and Skibbity and Sigma and no cap. And unfortunately, I know what all this means.
Yeah, I don't know what any of it. I just see what people talk like on Twitter, and I'm like, what the fuck? When did all of a sudden? I even made a joke the other day on Twitter. I was like, you guys went from let's go to we're so back. And I'm like, I just stayed right in my place. You guys went somewhere when you said, let's go, when you were excited. And then now when you're excited, you're saying, we're so back. I'm like, what the fuck? It just went from one thing to another. I'm like, what the hell? Anyway.
But I've actually made a point about a couple that we hear in this episode. Of course, the most famous one we have not heard yet. And we'll mention that when we get to it.
Yeah.
But I like how Warren even uses the slang with Harry, because he goes, you look slagged, basically you look like shit.
But so Warren's not, he's not doing so well.
No, Harry's not doing well. Warren's
Harry's
okay.
not doing. Yeah, Warren's okay. Warren's just wondering what the fuck is going on.
Yes.
And so we got voices with both of these guys.
You know what? Warren's name didn't like pop out at me. He must be important enough though, because he shows up like I actually took a screenshot of you know how there's always like the first screen that's got like the main cast, and you got the second screen that's got like all the guest stars for the episode.
Yeah.
Warren doesn't show up on the guest star list.
Okay.
Harry does, and it's an actor by the name of Sam McMurray, who I looked him up, and he's just one of those like every voice under the, another one of those journeyman voice actors who just like he's done all the things. Like you've watched a cartoon that's had his voice on it, kind of.
So Warren's not anybody, because he sounded familiar.
Well, let me double check that, because
I'm pretty sure, because I think what he sounded like, I want to say Michael Gross, because of Bert from Tremors and the Dad and Family Ties. That's who he sounded like to me.
It sounded like, okay, let me find out for you.
Am I right about that? Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like going, that voice sounds familiar, and I'm a big Tremors fan. And
let's see, voiced by Michael Gross.
Okay, thank you.
There you go.
I'm redeemed.
You are redeemed, sir. You are redeemed.
As soon as he heard that voice, I was like, I know that voice. And then it didn't take long. I'm like, it's Bert from Tremors. It's Michael Gross. Yes. Thank you.
See, your redeeming quality is you slide in on the under with you've watched all these weird cult movies, and it's like you've got these voices like just ingrained in your head that you're just like you missed the obvious ones. Like,
I missed the obvious one, but I missed Seth Green. But I got Michael Gross, baby.
Yeah, you get the curveballs. You can't get the straight line, but you can get the curveball.
The obvious one. I was like, I don't know. And then, but I was like, I know that voice, and there it was. I was like, that's got to be Michael Gross. So there you go. I feel good now. And then you know what I also love too is like, I mean, obviously this was still in the 90s. So, I mean,
barely, but
barely in the 90s. But even at that time, it's like when you're doing future stuff, there's still going to be discs.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, even though we're like, way in the future, it's like, oh yeah, Harry slips Warren a disc, before like he's
CD, like a CD disc. Yeah. We're past floppies now. We don't do floppies anymore.
Exactly. So there's still like, because they didn't know. Nobody knew like, oh yeah, that those aren't going to be around really anymore. It's going to be, everything super cloud or a USB drive or something like that.
I don't see USB drives anymore. It's like all cloud now.
It really is. It really is. It's like, oh yeah, can you share that with me? Okay, I'll drop it in my, in a Dropbox or a cloud or something like that. Yeah. But then, Warren, of course, had, some shit growing on him.
Harry had the shit.
Harry, sorry, I keep saying Warren. Harry, and Warren sees that. And then, of course, we get introduced to a character we're going to be familiar with.
Yeah. Now, we actually don't get his name in this episode.
That is interesting.
Yeah, but his name is Mr. Fix.
With 2 X's.
With 2 X's, yes. Did you recognize this voice?
Oh, I know who's this voice. It's just because I just knew. I knew it was George Takei.
Oh my.
Yeah, it was just like one of those that I already knew. Like it was like I remember like because with this character, I don't know. It was just that one was always the one that stood out with like Kevin Conroy, Will Friedle, and then it was like, oh yeah, George Takei is part of this. And then I was like, oh yeah,
because he also has such a amazing voice. And of course, exactly. I would hope you didn't get LeVar Burton, but you'll get.
I got this Star Trek.
Yeah, this Star Trek actor.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
You're
never going to let that go, Scott.
I'm never going to let that go because that was gold.
Oh, I know. I was so disappointed. That was my most.
However, you got Michael Dorn, though. Get close. Like, I'm trying to remember if you got Michael Dorn because he was both Calabac and John Henry Irons.
Yeah. So I did. Yeah. Like I said. Sometimes, the obvious ones or sometimes, but the only reason why I knew, I was like, because I just knew that George Takei was already the voice of that, of Mr. Fix in this. So
Mr. Fix is such a cool, look at that design. That is an awesome
Dude,
character.
you just look at him and go, okay,
I'm not with you.
don't fuck with that guy really at all. So yeah, we see him and they take Harry away, but of course, Warren, he's got the disc, so hey, we're good. And then of course Powers wants to meet with Warren, and Powers is like, hey, yeah, we were going through Harry's computer, but there's a file missing. Do you know anything about that? And of course Harry's like, no, I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Warren's like, I know, I don't know what you're talking about. I know, but I
Right.
like it how he played along really well. And I'm gonna give Derek Powers. He had a very plausible things like, hey, when can I see Harry? Bright and early on Monday. Like it's just like everything is fine and dandy.
We're good. Yeah, jeez. And then of course we get Warren back at home, and he of course is looking at the file. We don't even really get to see what the file actually really is. They keep
Right,
that
because
on
we
the
even just get weird shapes on the computer
yeah,
screen that we have
yeah,
no context for what it is. But it was kind of cool because they do the thing that television and movies do where we play it off the character's reaction. We don't see what it is,
yeah.
but we know from the reaction of the character that it's some bad voodoo
Yeah,
that's going on.
it's something that that definitely is going to be important, and why people would kill for it. And then of course we get Terry interrupting him, and then of course he's like, "Oh, you're grounded, because of what happened," and blah blah blah. And then of course Terry gets upset, and they have a little yelling match, and then we find out, it's a
We find
good
the divorce. It's a
yeah.
divorce family.
They
So
they find out that, oh yeah, you're gonna go live with your mom or something like that. So then it's like, okay, cool. So now we know, just in that little quick exchange, okay, yeah, they're his parents are divorced and blah blah blah. And but then of course, Terry's not gonna stay home. He's gonna go to Club 54 level, whatever it's
level
called.
54 with Dana.
Level, yeah. Which is kind of funny because they're in high school, right? Or
Yeah, they're nice. Oh, wait,
yeah.
Hamilton Hill High School, remember?
That's right. Yeah, but it's just like and it's always just kind of funny because it's like, oh, you're going to a club, but I'm like, I mean, I guess they're 18. They're yeah. It's not like they're fucking 15 or 14 years old or something like that. But yeah, so he goes there, shows up, and then naturally we get the Jokers that show up as well after Nelson shows up, and of course, looking all, trying to wearing
Look
his
all
Letterman
douchebaggy.
jacket, yeah, and do it. But then of course the Jokers show up in their on their bikes and everything, and even right on top
Which is
of
also a very cyberpunky.
yes.
I mean, it's gonna be weeks, months, maybe years, depending on how based on how long it takes us to get through things. But because there's going to be a connection to this later, but the whole bike thing with the Jokers and the whole cyberpunk, it makes me think of Akira.
Okay.
Have
Oh
you ever
yeah, I
seen
know what
it?
you're talking about. Yeah, the
Yeah,
anime. Yeah.
the anime. Yeah, yeah. Uh, because of course that famously has the Akira slide,
Yes.
and whenever I see bikes in the future, I think Akira.
Yeah, makes sense.
But I'm going to tell you, thanks to this series, there's going to be an Akira connection that's going to be really cool when I tell you about it.
Ooh, can't wait for that.
Oh yeah, it's going to be fun when we get there. But yeah, I would bone up on some Akira when we because it's just
I've watched it once, long time ago. I gotta watch it again.
Yeah, you also need to watch it now that they've done a brand new dub. Like they
Yeah.
re-recorded a brand new dub because
And
that original dub is
terrible.
it
And
is.
it's so funny too because they keep on talking about live action, and it's like, is that ever gonna ever be
Please
a
don't.
thing?
No,
Yeah,
don't.
it's gonna happen eventually.
It's going
But
to, but don't.
you need the right director for it. Yeah, I guess,
Not Taika Waititi.
Yeah, I know. Remember he was attached to at one point. I think Jordan Peele was attached to at one point too.
Jordan Peele. Okay, are you like,
That's better than Taka.
that's
for damn
better
sure.
than Taika.
A lot of things are better than Taka. But yeah, of course, Terry takes it upon himself to, kick some ass, and then he takes one of the bikes and then heads up to up in the hilly kind of area as they chase him, and then almost runs into an old guy.
Yeah. I at first I go, why the fuck is Bruce just standing there in the middle of the road?
Yeah.
And then I think, okay, but it's Bruce.
Yeah.
I would bet that he had like sensors and monitors that he knew like someone was approaching.
Yes, he knew that something was happening. He probably has all kinds of stuff, even just looking at the city. Probably knows about this Joker's gang. Maybe knows a little bit about Terry. Maybe
I
there's
don't
even
think he knows
something.
anything about. I don't think
You don't think
that's
so?
the. I don't think that's the case. But
Think
I think he at least knew
about the
if you're
gang?
on that road, the road only goes one way, and it's
Yeah,
like
true.
Wayne Manor. So
Yeah,
I've got to imagine he's got a security system that's all jacked up, and so because you got to think he was at the front. That old man had to walk all the way from Wayne Manor to the front gate. I mean, he
yeah. With
he
his
needed a
cane,
little time.
he didn't have a rascal. That's for
Yeah,
damn sure. But yeah, and then of course, that causes, of course, Terry to crash, and then the Jokers show up, and then yeah, total just he didn't say get off my lawn, he said get off my property.
but it was basically a
Yeah.
Batman just told you to get off my lawn.
Yeah,
Yes.
pretty much. And that's where you go like, oh damn, they could have really did a good Batman Beyond with Clint Eastwood at one point, couldn't they?
Oh yeah,
That would have been
exactly.
pretty damn good,
Yeah, yeah.
Hey,
Like,
we can still hold some hope for maybe a Michael Keaton at one point, but
yeah,
hey, who knows? That
but we
probably
definitely got it like a Gran Torino era,
yes,
Clint
yes.
Eastwood.
Get off my
Um,
property.
another fun voice because you got that one head Joker who really looks like dressed up like the Joker.
Uh-huh.
It's like we're the Jokers.
Yeah.
I love Bruce's line. Sure, you are. That's a voice, by the way.
Who?
It's Bruce Timm.
Oh, that's hilarious. I love that. He put himself in there. Why not?
I
Why
know.
not?
I mean, they've done it. I mean, like I said, he's
Done it
been there.
before, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because he was
Yeah.
the toy collector in
Yep.
Beware the Gray Ghost because
Yep.
they even made him look like him.
Yep, that's right. They based it off of him, so that's good. And then, of course, we get, even though Bruce is in his 80s, he could still kick ass. And
My
him,
favorite move,
yeah,
because the greatest Batman, Keaton did it, the
yes,
animated series does it, but the great move is always the backhanded fist to the face, and he does it in this fight, but with his cane.
yeah, yeah, taking everybody down, did a good job. And then there's someone behind him, and he just whoosh, just knocks him right in the head without even looking, stone faced, everything. It's good. And then, of course, they're like, let's get out of here, and blah blah blah. And then that's where Bruce is just, and then it's like, oh yeah, well, he's fucking old and he's still got some issues. So
He still has some heart problems.
yeah, so he's like dropped his cane, he's up against the wall, just shortness of breath. And Terry, being nice and helps him, try to get him back into the mansion, get him his pills that he needs.
But
Puts him on a
before
chair.
then, we meet a new character.
Which character? Oh yeah, Ace. We get to
Ace.
meet Ace, who
Yes.
he's got he growls a lot.
Yeah, I love my favorite line is where Terry goes, "Nice dog," and Bruce goes, "Not really."
Not really exactly.
Which is cool because Ace the Bat Hound is a comic character.
Yeah.
It's from the Silver Age. He was Batman's answer to Krypto. They gave Superman a dog in the Silver Age. Everyone got a pet.
Yeah.
That's the reason we have super pets.
Yeah.
Is because everyone had a pet. But in the animated universe, they just took Ace and made him Bruce's companion in the future, and then did a completely different redesign. Because I think in the comics he looks more like a German Shepherd. I've always tried to figure out Ace is clearly a mutt.
Yeah.
I've always tried to say, like, I feel like he's got like some Grand Mastiff and maybe some Greyhound in, like
jowls to him.
Yeah,
some jowls to him. I mean, when it came to the Super Pets movie, they base it off of this design. He was like that, which I thought, Super Pets, not a bad movie.
It's fun. My kids love it.
Yeah, it was, and I thought, it was voiced by Kevin Hart. I remember he had one of the funniest scenes in there when he kept on running into the invisible jet. I was cracking up. That actually made me laugh out loud when he like kept like running into the invisible jet. It was, I don't know why, that just made me laugh.
It just tickled you.
Yeah, it just tickled me in the right spot because I was like, it was just so stupid that we have Batman's dog just running into the fucking Wonder Woman's invisible jet. I don't know. It just cracked me up.
But I love this I love this ace.
Yeah.
I mean, it's why I was
He's a
so
guard dog.
excited when, if I remember correctly, I think, yeah, the old man Wayne that came at Comic Con that Phil got me, I think came with Ace.
Yeah, I think it did too. Yeah.
Yeah. So I
I
mean,
mean,
I love that. Like for me, this is my Ace.
yeah,
Like
of
I
course.
found out that Ace was an actual comic book character later, but this was my first, and so this is the version
Just
of
the
Ace.
introduction of Ace. Yeah.
Is my introduction of Ace, and I
True.
just love this version of Ace. But still, like a nice dog. Not really.
Yeah. And then so he gets him his pills, and then he falls asleep on his chair. And then of course we get a look at the the living room, the familiar
The
room
study
with the
kind of
study
thing.
and the staircase, the big staircase with the big window. And things are covered, like the furniture's covered. So we just know, like, yeah, I mean, he's just kind of secluded in this
Clearly, Alfred's not around
of
anymore.
course. Yeah, he's not around. Um, and then he falls asleep, and then Terry's like, "All right, well, I'm just gonna take off." And then, of course, when he opens the door, Ace is just like, "Arr." It's like, "Okay, I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna call my dad. I'm definitely grounded now." So he goes into the little library study area to use the phone. It's not working, and then he just happens to see a little bat trying to get out of the grandfather clock right behind him.
I
Hmm.
know that's I. That's an interesting idea that because
Yeah.
you've got the clock that is a classic Batman, like that is one of those canon entrances
Yeah.
to the Batcave.
But they
And
had
that
to
the
get something. They had to get him down there somehow.
right, but so the great idea is that, well, what if a bat
He's trying to
worked
get
its way up the staircase and then got stuck in the clock?
Yeah,
Because
that
you
was
could walk because you could go in behind it because
yeah,
there's no wall because the clock's just a doorway to the Batcave.
yeah, yeah. It's an interesting choice, but it was like they probably I wonder how many different ideas they had. Like, how do we get Terry down into the Batcave? You know? So that was probably just the one they were like, that's the only way. I mean, they probably were like, maybe he feels a breeze. Does the fucking clock just open up magically? Like because it just does. They probably just like, no, let's just have a bat. Why not?
And
And
and if he's pulling on it, he just happens to grab it, you
in the
know,
perfect spot.
in the perfect spot to, click the switch
Yep.
to make it.
But
Because
hey, you gotta,
technically, he's supposed to move the time
that's
to,
true.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because it's supposed to be the exact moment of the Wayne's death is the secret code to open up
Remember, this is 50 years. It's all old and
it's all
yeah,
old and stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
So why not? And then of course he gets down there and all the lights turn on and almost reminds me of like when Dick Grayson ended up. It is kind of funny. Well,
It's the
that
same
he turned. He
everyone
turned.
does it the same way. They do it in The Flash. They
Yeah.
do it in Batman
Yeah.
Forever.
It's
Yeah.
true, yeah, and then even in Batman and Robin, when Lisa's, well, no, we didn't actually see her go into that. That's true. Oh yeah, that's right. They didn't even show. Yeah, anyways, we're not talking about Batman and Robin. They don't even see her go into the Batcave. It just like cuts to her just walking around the Batcave. Lame. Who knows? Release the Schumacher cut of that too. There's probably a different version. Anyways, no, yeah, but then of course he goes, oh, no wonder you could fight. He sees the bat suit. And then of course he gets he gets a
Get
cane to the
smacked
head.
upside the head.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, you're not supposed to be down there. And of course tells him to get out, and he's just like, obviously get out of here. And then Terry is just like, yeah, fuck, all right,
Fuck this.
fuck this, I'm done. And then he returns home and he sees the cops are in front of the apartment building, and sees like a spray paint of like a bunch of ha-ha-has, and then his mom's there, and then it's like, yeah, she's gonna tell him the bad news, and of course he's just like, yeah, let me in there, and blah blah blah, and yeah,
I also think it's really it's one of those things that's almost more disturbing for him to run into the room and you not get to see his dad dead because you
yeah,
can only imagine like what did they
but
do to him?
yeah, like what happened, like how gruesome it actually is, yeah. So, and then it just kind of just like, yeah, it cuts to like a news report of talking about Warren McGinnis dying, and then of course leaving behind, like, he's got an ex-wife, and then of course his two sons. Let's remember that we have little Matt,
Yes.
also little Matt McGinnis. So Terry's little brother.
By the way, the anchor is someone.
Who's the anchor?
CCH Pounder.
CCH. Why do I know that? A girl, right? Woman.
Woman,
No?
yes.
Woman,
Black
she's
woman,
black
yes.
woman. Yes. She's been on a ton of things.
Well, you know what? She also is going to become very important to us.
What?
She's Waller in the universe.
Of course she is.
When we get to Justice League Unlimited, she is my Amanda Waller.
She would be even like back in the 90s. The movie that sticks out with me, she was in Face Off. She was in Face Off.
She was in Face Off.
Yeah, that's the one that and then she would have been a perfect Amanda Waller in 90s, early 2000s for sure. Perfect. CCH, man, yeah, that she's quite a name on her, man.
Oh man, but a voice that just goes,
oh yeah, great voice.
Oh, amazing voice.
Great voice. And I do know the mom's voice too. She's got a recognizable voice. It's just it's Terry Garr. I mean, yeah, I know Terry Garr's voice. It was the same thing when it came to Michael Gross. I'm like, I know that voice, and it just 5 seconds.
Unfortunately,
later,
we just lost recently.
Yes,
yeah.
May she rest in peace.
I still, for me, it's Young Frankenstein.
Okay, yeah, of course, Young Frankenstein.
Rolling in the hay, rolling in the hay. My, what big knockers! Why, thank you.
She's so good. So Terry Garr is Terry's mom,
Mary.
Well, is it McGinnis? I mean,
it is McGinnis. Yes.
Yeah.
She did not change her name after the divorce.
Yeah. So then of course we do that, and then of course we get the scene where he's in his room at her house, and then he's just of course blaming himself, like, you don't even know.
Very Spider-Man.
Yeah, it's very Spider-Man. I was like, the things I said to him, he's
the last thing I said is I didn't even tell him I loved him.
Yeah.
It reminded me of the, especially like the Sam Raimi version, where it's like he has the fight with Uncle Ben, right before, this is the last thing he ever sees. So this very much has and then we were talking about how Nelson was like a Flash Thompson. So you can really get the sense that they kind of take a Spider-Man model in a way with a Batman, but make him a Batman. And and I don't mean this as a swipe. I think it's really well done. But that's just what made me think, is like, this feels like a scene in a Spider-Man movie where Spider-Man's upset over the death of Uncle Ben.
100%. No, I agree with that. And then of course, then after that, and she like hugs him, and then we get Terry bringing a bunch of boxes, and of course, Matt's just kind of, not helping, being a little.
He's an annoying little brother. Yeah.
And then of course he drops a box, and then things fall out of it, and he sees a picture of him and his dad. It's cracked, and then of course, what's there? We got a little compact disc. Huh?
Yep. Mm-hmm. And of course he sticks it in the computer, and Warren knew something was going down.
Yes.
Yes.
Because it even says like something about if I,
in the event of my death or disappearance.
Yes. So definitely knew something was going down, and then knew he was like, all right, there's only one person that I need to talk to you about this. So. Yeah. And it's a cool little ending to part one.
It is a cool little ending to part one. It feels a little like, damn, we're gonna wait a whole nother week to see part two. Because once again, like when this originally aired, it just went right into part two. Of course. But I love it how he's talking on that speaker, and he's like, I think something's wrong with your company. I think it's something to do with my dad's death. And I like that, because he makes it. It's not just beat Batman. It's no, shit's going down with your company.
It's like, dude, like, this is not just about me. This is also about your fucking shit, man. Like, and you're Batman. I know you're Batman. I know you can help. Like, and of course, Terry, he just lost his dad. So he's just determined. And it's like, who else can help? But, especially what he saw. And we still don't know what the fuck is on that disc. We just see shapes on the damn screen.
And we know it, and being intelligent people, we know it has something to do with those black splotches we saw on Harry earlier in the episode.
Yep. And then of course, it's that whole thing of like when he's just like yelling at it, and then of course there's nothing, and then he just gets upset and he goes, "Yeah, you're just a fraud," or whatever the hell, and it's just, and he does that angry thing, but then of course the gate just just opens up, and it's like,
yeah, but then he starts walking up, and
Yeah.
Ace like walks with him, and then you just get that cool like shot of old man Bruce staring out the window.
Dude. And then it's just like, oh yeah, it's on. It's fucking on right there. And yeah, I mean, and I love how obviously it's dark and it's windy. They there's that dramatic, like, oh yeah, he's up there. It's like windy and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that shot of Bruce just like standing there. It's like, oh yeah, here we go. Here we go. The next part. Yeah, pack your shit, folks. It's about to get crazy.
It's gonna go down.
It's gonna go down. But yeah, it was fun. It's great rewatching this episode and just like I said, just like the comparisons to Spider-Man, and then all the voices that show up, and just the cold opening. I mean, and then like you said, like what all the stuff the information that you put out there, the fact that they needed something cooler and need something more hip. And they basically just came up with the idea on the elevator ride up. It's just so cool. I mean, it's just how it works out when, you just never know.
And they still didn't do what they wanted them to do.
No, exactly. But then it ended up working out because Batman Beyond is still very much
it's a legitimate version of Batman.
It totally is.
Yeah. I mean, I think they're all legitimate, but the point is that fans go, oh no, like I posted today about watching Rebirth Part 1.
Yeah. And
then everyone was like, oh shit. Like when I post that, they all know what's going on. They're like,
yeah,
well, that's tonight. And then everyone was like the reactions I got about the fact that we were about to start talking about the show just shows you, like, when people just start commenting, there's like hype and excitement, and people are like, you've made it to Batman Beyond? I love this show.
Oh yeah. And then we got DeBar right here, who, like, same thing. We want that too. Would love
Batman. Yeah. Oh god, yeah.
And apparently that was pitched, and who knows, maybe something Jimmy Guns might, go, maybe we got to do something like that. Who knows? But there you go, guys. Batman Beyond, Episode 1, Rebirth Part 1. And Part 2, oh, yeah, that'll be next week.
Look, Dave doesn't have to ask me what's next week. It's just like,
oh yeah, we know this one. We know Part 2. But yeah, and I love the fact that, yeah, we dove into this one. And yeah, this is like I said, it's gonna be fun because, like I said, I didn't watch it on repeat like I watched Superman the Animated Series and Batman the Animated Series. So, like, the fact that I didn't watch these episodes like crazy like you did.
And, oh yeah, because I got favorites, dude. I have.
Yeah,
favorites.
I'm sure you do. Yeah.
Oh, there's some good. This is a show that benefited from the fact that, unlike Batman, that ran for 108 episodes. If we just talk about the episodes. This one ran for, like Superman, this one ran for 52 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Funny. DC can never go away from that freaking number.
That's a significant number for them, isn't it? Huh?
Yeah, but I feel like, and this is me kind of talking out of school here at the beginning, but there was more consistency,
of course,
in Batman Beyond. We're not going to have those. We're going to have some highs, but we're not going to have like those low lows that we did. I felt like they get a short first season, they get a slightly longer second season, then they get a short third season. There's not a lot of, like, the animation doesn't vary as much in this show. We're not going to do a lot of A team, B team talk when it comes to animation. It stays pretty dang consistent episode to episode in this show. Cool thing that does happen in this show is we see the end of hand-drawn cell animation. And this series, we will see the transition to
right.
digital ink and paint in this show.
I remember that. Yeah.
So
Okay.
I love this show. It's a really good show that
Solid.
once again, this isn't me like seeing it as a 10-year-old and then going back and watching it. Like I said, I was a second semester junior in high school when this thing started, and I was in college when it ended, and I was still watching it. Like it was good stuff.
Yeah.
And especially after some of the meh that we got like towards the end of the new Batman adventures, it's going to be
Yeah.
really exciting to talk about Batman Beyond, which, like I said, on the whole was more consistent
Yes.
through its 52 episodes.
Yeah. No, it's going to be a fun one to talk about for sure. So we appreciate you guys, of course, for spending some time with us. And like I said, the clip of today was just that intro. Like I said, that we had to just show the intro. And, like I said, I was like thinking about, we could show the end. But I was like, I always like to show like obviously when it comes to these episodes, usually it's like an end action sequence. So this one ended dramatically with,
It was dialogue. It was
with
character.
dialogue and just establishing what's going to be happening and these two teaming up. And yeah, we're in for the ride right here. So yeah, we'll see you next week, of course, with Rebirth Part 2. And go ahead, Scott. What do you got to anything to plug?
Nothing to plug right now. I'm still having to catch up on Creature Commandos so that we can do DC TV Squadcast. Once again, I'm a bum. I work for a living. It's horrible of me.
Yeah.
But other than that, I just hope everyone enjoys the fact that we are now dipping our toes into, Neo Gotham. So make sure you join us next week for Part 2. And otherwise, that's it for me. You can find me on X at ScottDC27, on Instagram at McMerlin, and on Vero at Scott McClellan. Until I get around to getting caught up on Creature Commandos, of course, you can find all the shows over at squadcastmedia.com.
There it is. And like I said, we should have like a new opening when it comes to Batman Beyond. That's being worked on right now. So hopefully by next week, we'll see what happens.
Just love the font. The font is just
yeah, I already had the font ready to go and everything. So perfect. So all right, guys, hit that like, thumbs up. And we love you. If you see you for the Vodka stream this Friday. If not, if you're just all about these, then we'll see you next week. All right. Talk to you later.